Hello, and welcome to Andrew Broussard Watercolors. Today we're going to do a fast and loose watercolor landscape painting based off of a photograph. I took this photograph the other day. I think it might have been maybe on my way to work or maybe leaving work, not quite sure. But anyway, I'm going to use this as a reference for a painting, and I'll make it available on the Patreon for y'all to download and follow along with if you want. But I think I'm going to take a lot of artistic liberties and have a lot of fun with it. I'm using a quarter sheet of Stonehenge Aqua. I am thoroughly coating it with water. It is 100% cotton, 140-pound cold press. I've recently been doing master studies, just looking at master paintings and playing around with it, and I was looking for a painting to paint from, to experiment with. I couldn't find the exact one online, so I was like, you know what, I'm just going to pull up a picture from my phone and play around with that. So that being said, I'm probably going to use a different set of tools for this painting since I've been playing around with different ideas. And I'm going to start off with some Prussian blue. I'm going to gradiate upwards. Then I'm going to grab some ultramarine right there. I'm going to keep in mind some of the thoughts from Carlson's Guide to Landscape Painting. I'm also going to keep in mind some of the different ideas that I've been playing with looking at the master paintings. Now, with the skies, I was thinking earlier today, probably break it up into two approaches, where you can have kind of a very nice, smooth, gradated sky, or you could have a lot of brush strokes and dynamic effects. So I'm just kind of playing around with brush strokes. I don't want horizontal ones to take place. I just want that to build up. I'm going to have a vertical gradation happen, where I'm going to use my paper towel to lift out the whites. I'm also going to have a horizontal gradation happen as well, meaning, so vertical, where I'm pulling up some of it, and then a vertical, and then horizontal, where it's going to lighten up in this area. As we go from left to right. Let's put a little bit in, just see how that feeds in. Smidgen of Payne's Gray. For some horizon clouds. I'm going to lift out some of those clouds. We might play with some white gouache in the sky. We'll see. All right. Now, compositionally, the road going off, I don't think is the best right here, but I'm going to kind of roll with it. I'm going to use raw sienna to help me map out my landscape, and I'm going to accentuate some of my marks. So we have this line here here. Let's grab some burnt sienna. Burnt sienna with ultramarine can give us a gray aspect in there. And I'm trying to put my my ground, tonally a little bit darker than the sky. So just pulling from Carlson's Guide to Landscape Painting, his theory of angles, that the sky is going to be the lightest tonality wise. The ground will be a little bit darker, and then our vertical aspects, our trees, are going to be darker. All right, just playing around wet and wet. Mixing some Prussian blue with the raw sienna for a green. And the cats are kind of chewing and picking at stuff, so you guys gotta behave. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay, what do I want to do with this road? Let's I'm gonna change the road into a foreground bush. Gives me some time to grab a little bit of new gouache, pronunciation I'm not sure. I was talking to Joe Menza and Matthew Clemens, and they use the terminology or the language of very mustard yellowish or saffron. But regardless, just using it as a strong foreground element. Let's mix it with some Prussian blue. Wow, that gets even greener. Then we can mellow that out with some burnt umber. Now I really want to play around with the trees. I was trying to think of different ways to go about applying them. Here it's just using the hake brush, but I will experiment with some other material. Let's create this mass of trees coming closer to us. Going wet and wet, letting this diffuse. Concerned I might have went a little too high right there, because in a matte, cut off the top of that sky and pinch it. And take up almost a little too much space vertically. Back here. Let's grab burnt umber, feed in some darker tones. Burnt umber and our Prussian blue. Let's see how that goes. Got a darker green. So the trees are going to be a darker mass, but the mass is going to lighten tonally as you get to the little holes for the sky to peek through, around the edges, etc. I'm pushing it, I can tell already I'm pushing it too far forward in the picture plane. So I'm going to use a scraping tool. This one made by a nice gentleman, a YouTuber, Mr. Mega, I refer to him. And I emailed him the other day about making some more of these. And he said he's going to see what materials he has. I believe he'll send me some, and then from there I can mail them out to you all. So that's cool. All right, so I'm going to try to just mark that a little bit for my trunks. Burnt sienna. I really like the wet and wet phase. A little too warm right there. That's going to push it forward. So I might have to find a way to push that back. Or what I can do is make a bigger mass here with it. There we go. Okay. I'm going to pause for a dry off, and we'll see how everything lightens tonally. All right, so if everything jumped around a little bit, it's because I had stopped the camera and turned it off. I had gotten a phone call. So, did the dry off. It still feels a little damp, but you can see how everything lightened up quite a bit. I want to now play around with, honestly, what I was looking for in a master study today. I wanted to play around with background trees in the distance. I was looking at how the little kind of cotton ball trees were put in, and looking at them up close, like, you know, kind of sticking my head into the book to look at it. I had noticed that a lot of them had their own shadows. They had some variation within them, and it's something that I really wanted to explore. So I have a round brush right now, silver black velvet round, and I'm going to kind of just explore this and kind of discuss some ideas that were in my mind and what I thought. So the cotton ball poofy shape, this is kind of that stereotype of the tree. The tonal value should darken as you get to the underside of them. And I did notice that a lot of shadows were painted within the master paintings. Even in the sketches, they had them underneath. So that's a few things that I need to really look at and explore. The trunks were there, and in some cases they were lighter. So I was thinking maybe just scraping or putting in just little marks to create them. This is going to be a bigger tree element that's going to come closer in the picture plane. It's going to come up around. I'm just kind of getting an idea. And I don't know if I mentioned, this mixture is light red oxide and ultramarine. And kind of that green that was on the palette already. I know that rhythm and the patterns are going to be really important, and I feel like I am butchering that. Meaning a variation in the height of these, the spacing between them, etc. darker back here. I think it would be interesting if we take a lighter wash for kind of trees that would poke up from behind them but be further back. And that can maybe give us a sense of depth. Darker mix for undersides. We have our closer trees. I'm just doing the side brush here. Now they are darker, like tonally, I'd put them darker to make them help them sit in the picture plane. So let me go just greener and see if that helps, how that would work. Just work with the perspective of them starting a little bit lower, having that there. You can bring that tree line a little bit over. All right, let's move away from those guys. You can see that the hake has the same pigments on it as before. I didn't wash it off or anything. Ultramarine blue, light red oxide, just kind of getting it dark. Help them ground in place. Then we have our vertical grass elements. Gouache. I'm just going to settle on a pronunciation for it. Just get that stronger yellow. Raw sienna and Prussian blue. Our green back here. And I made the executive decision to just put growth here. Just a little bit of movement. Grabbing the number 4. Sorry, the number, yeah, number 4. I'm going to start looking for some darks. Here I have my burnt umber. Nothing on the palette is fresh, so I'm having to reconstitute it. Hey, Hammy, you can't be on my lap just yet. Putting in the darker aspects. I'll let it weave in and out. Closer trees, perspective-wise, would have a bigger distance between them. So I'm going to keep these gaps wide, and then I'm going to put some closer tree trunks like that to give that linear perspective. Side brush to darken that aspect. We got that dark tree back here. I think what would be interesting is if we mix a green and we mix burnt sienna into that. So Prussian blue, raw sienna, make the green, get a little bit of burnt sienna. So that stronger tree back here. That recedes back. Hammy, you can't. Grabbing a little bit of lamp black just to darken that. I don't know if I like that just yet. We'll see what happens. Hammy is trying so hard to get onto this art table. A little bit of lamp black in this mix. I think we're missing a lot of sky holes and bird holes, so try to open it up a little bit. And raw sienna, which I think I'm going to mix with some white gouache in a bit for the brighter side. Let's see what happens. Ultramarine and light red oxide for the trees we would see behind them. A little bit stronger. That's part of the experiment. We'll scrape. There. I think I want to do a dry off. And we'll see where to go from there. I'm going to pause the camera and do a dry off. Okay, it should be dry enough. Now I'm going to put some gouache into this little gouache pan that I use. And we will experiment from here. So I'm going to grab some raw sienna, mix that in. I do have another butcher tray that I use for gouache, and I think that I should start using that for these experiments. It has just gouache on it, but you know, pulling it out and mixing the watercolor on that. I don't mix it into my other palette just because of the chalkiness that starts to take place. But I do find that I'm grabbing some as and leaving some over there whenever I do that still, so we'll see. So this is the raw sienna mixed into it. The goal is to not have like white highlights. It's to play around with the concept of just a tinted highlight. When we have this out, let's mix some of the gouache with this and see. What type of yellow marks we can get. I do have black. I put out lamp black yesterday, and let's see. Let's put out lamp black if I can find it. I'm going to pause the camera so I don't have to spend my time looking for it. Okay, so now with this lamp black, my goal is not to put pure black down, but to mix that just with the other colors. Like, I guess the idea is this. I don't want pure black out because I don't want it to just seem like a black stamp and a black line. But I think that mixing it with like a raw umber, burnt umber, and just kind of deadening those tones might make it interesting. It might help those stand out. I'm not really articulating very well today. It is Monday, and we have 3 weeks left of work. Shadow aspects here, make it darker near the base. Let's see. Let's move back to the hake brush. I'm going to experiment with mixing black with raw sienna and seeing what happens there. That same tonal value here, kind of just for a balancing act. to experiment with layering trunks and branches. I'm also thinking about taking the white gouache and using it with some Prussian blue to open up some bird holes in here, some sky holes. I know that's a big leap, but it's a leap that I have to take and I have to experiment with. Seeing if we can get back to the sky with gouache. See how that looks through there. Kind of almost like how Cezanne had like the sky color pass over trees and mountains. It's almost like that effect. I think that's a little interesting. All right. I think I now want to pause for a dry off and reconsider and think about my next approach. All right, since we're in super experimental mode, here is a fan brush, which I'm going to mix my lamp black, my Prussian blue, and my raw sienna to get a dark green. Could have just stayed with the hake. I think that's what I should have done. All right, unsuccessful. Pass over a little bit where we kind of put the sky back in. I think I feel flat tonally. And I also think that I want some brighter yellows. So I'm going to try to wash off the hake brush. And I'm going to pull just the gouache. We'll see how that goes. Let's put a little bit of that to get a glow around the edge. Now I'm in super experimenting mode. Then let's get burnt umber just to darken this side. I would at this point say you were more than welcome to follow along, but I feel that this is just all over the place at this point. But I think we have that type of painting once in a while. And we need that. Let's flatten this out. Flatten it out. Through the camera, filming it, it looks good. In person, I feel like it's just all over the place. Earlier I talked about how I just wanted to use lamp black mixed with other pigments so it didn't seem like I was just drawing with black, but let's get some of that in there. I feel like we're going to go back to the gouache. Raw sienna. To get the front trunk to pop. Echo that feel here. Okay, I can echo it here. I can even use the hake. Oh. Trying to avoid pure white. It feels fun. Feels like there's a lot of movement. I feel like I used a million different approaches in this one. This is lamp black. Feels empty in that region. Well, for what it's worth, I hope you enjoyed. Just want to do one more dry off and we'll see. All right, so I think I think we're just going to call this one here. Was a struggle, but you know, you can't win them all. I hope you enjoyed, and I will talk to you all soon. Have a great day, and I'll be back with more videos. Y'all take care.